in this season Bach in the fourth edition of this festival. Maestro Guy Cutin is a British tenor, widely acclaimed for his insightful interpretation of Bach in the Baroque repertoire. He is recognized internationally for his compelling performances and refined musicianship. A regular soloist with Collegium Vocale Gent and conductor Philippe Herreweghe, he has performed across Europe's leading concert halls and festivals, including La Scala in Milano, the BBC Proms, the Philharmonie of Berlin, Tonhalle Zurich, Elbphilharmonie in Hamburg, and the Concertgebouw in Amsterdam. Mr. Cutin is in great demand as evangelist in Bach Passions. His interpretations of Bach music are noted for the expressive phrasing, beautiful voice, technical fluencies, and deep understanding of the text. He has collaborated with many of the world's foremost period conductors such as Philippe Herreweghe, Sir John Eliot Gardiner, Masaki Suzuki, John Booth, Paul McCrish, Jos von Beethoven, Marcus Creed, as well as the new generation of conductors and directors, including Jonathan Cohen, Leonardo Garcia Alarcón, Peter Wieland, Lawrence Cummings, Richard Egar, Hans Christoph Rademann, Daniel Royce, and Denis Souza. A sought-after soloist, Maestro Cutin has appeared with leading period ensembles such as the Orchestra of the Age of Enlightenment, including for his BBC Proms debut, as well as the Academy of Ancient Music, Collegium Vocale Gent, Monteverdi Choir, Netherlands Bach Society, Dunedin Consort, Arcangelo, Gli Angeli, Geneve, Orchestra of the 18th century, and the American Bach Soloist. His work extends beyond early music with performances alongside modern orchestras such as the Royal Concertgebouw Orchestra, Tonhalle Orchestra Zurich, English Chamber Orchestra, Bergen Philharmonic Orchestra, Royal Northern Symphony Orchestra della Svizzera Italiana, Bournemouth Symphony Orchestra, and Britain Symphony. While Bach remains at the heart of his repertoire, Maestro Cutin also performs a wide range of music from the early Baroque to the 21st century. The Maestro Cutin was both a chorister and a choral scholar at New College of Oxford, the inaugural recipient of the American Bach Soloist Jeffrey Thomas Award, and a rising star of the Enlightenment. He has contributed extensively to the Netherlands Bach Society All of Bach video series. Forthcoming releases feature music by Bach, Handel, and Stravinsky, as well as his debut solo album with George Ireland. For Season Bach, it's an amazing honor to share this interview with one of the best Bach music singers of this time. Welcome, Maestro.
Hello, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Me too. One of the first composers studied in the career of young music students is Johann Sebastian Bach, for the brilliant difficulty of his music, and above all, for its beauty and the way his music makes all of us be better as musicians. Bach musical papers are amazing methods and represent a singing school. For you, Maestro, what was your first experience with his music?
So for me, my both of my parents are professional musicians, and my dad is a Baroque trumpet player.
Okay.
So particularly with him, I heard a lot of especially B minor mass, because that's the trumpet parts in that are particularly challenging.
Yeah, an
So I
amazing
had a lot
work.
of that around the house when I was a small boy. So that was probably my very first introduction to Bach, and then I became a chorister at the age of 7 at New College in Oxford, and that's a very intense training where you're doing, six services a week, and you're learning to sight read. And our director of music was called Edward Higginbottom, and he was actually a Baroque specialist, actually French Baroque, but
Okay.
nevertheless he did a lot of Bach as well. So yeah, every year we would do a St. John Passion. So I remember singing Ich folge dir gleichfalls when I was about 9 or something, absolutely terrified. And also we did a lot of the motets, so I really loved, especially Jesu meine Freude and Robert den Herr and all those, they're just fantastic. And so that was my introduction to Bach at a pretty young age, I guess.
Singing in a choir is one of the best workouts for musicians. You were part, like you said, of the new College of Oxford, an amazing vocal school, we know. What do you treasure of that time? As a child, were singing the Bach repertoire and Baroque repertoire and all the music that they did in that time.
Yeah, it's just a really very special time. I think by the time you leave the choir, you've got to know so many different composers, whether it's Baroque or Renaissance. We did a lot of Renaissance music as well. Yeah, no, it was just an amazing time. We would go on tour a couple of times a year, and when I was a chorister, we went to Japan twice, and that was very special, singing Bach over there. And yeah, we went to France a lot as well. And oh yeah, I remember every year the St. John Passion, as I said earlier, in the chapel. That was always a very special moment. And everybody in the choir would do the solos. So we would have boys singing the soprano solos, and yeah, I think it's sort of, it feels a little bit like you're being trained to become a professional at a very young age, and that's definitely put me in good stead for my career. I think it's an amazing training.
Many of that children becomes professional singers after all that years, I suppose.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I'm still in touch with a few of the people from when I was a chorister, and yeah, people are not always in classical music, but they're doing some sort of professional music, or at least they've kept their interests, and they will sing in an amateur choir or amateur orchestra or something like that. Yeah.
Okay, amazing. From among the wide range of possibilities and vocal types, Bach chose lighter tenors to perform his music, his passions, cantatas, and works in general. He conceives of this tenor as his evangelist, sometimes as a witness to the Passion of Christ and other biblical passages. For you, what does singing Bach entail for a soloist, and specifically for a tenor? What does Bach music represent for a tenor?
I think the first thing to say is that it's probably one of the most challenging Bach
for
music.
everyone.
It's very and
Yeah.
the evangelist parts, which I'm just refreshing those at the moment because I've got them coming up starting next week, and it just demands so many different types of singing. You've got to have such a good control over your voice, the ability to sing in every part of your voice in lots of different colors, and soft and loud, and I think the key really for evangelists especially is just you're always thinking about the text, and you are commentating on what's happening, and that's really got to be the fore. You don't want to be thinking too much about being a singer. You've got to have, that's all going to be in the background, that you've learned how to sing it technically, but then in the end, when it comes to the performance, you're really just thinking about what are you trying to tell the audience, basically. So yeah.
Yes, because when we are studying singing, opera singing, for a tenor, I suppose it's like a dream to sing Nemorino by Donizetti, or even the most heavier roles. But when you talk about Bach specifically, you have to think in another kind of music, in other kind of singing. Obviously light, but it's like not part of the dreams of that young singer, but it's for a lighter tenor. It's a
For
goal.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You have to. You're right. Like for me, also singing some Mozart arias or something is so. It feels kind of much easier in a way because you can really
Yeah,
just let your
of
voice
course.
go. So with Bach, you've got to sort of. It's like you're putting your identity as a singer to one side and just being the storyteller, and not trying to sing. It's tempting to try and sing every high note as loud as possible, but you need to you choose
Yeah,
your moments,
yeah,
and it's quite a different method, I think, really.
yes. And talking about your career, how were the first years of study music in your country, especially in your country?
As a tenor, do you mean, or when I was a
Yeah,
chorister?
as a musician or a singer, or an opera singer.
Yeah, I think I actually started off singing a lot in choirs in London and consorts. So I
Okay.
started off with a lot of Renaissance music, and I sang with like the Tallis Scholars and other early music groups like that. Um,
Okay.
and then gradually I started doing more solo work, and then I naturally fell into doing more Baroque work because my just how my voice is set up. So yeah, I remember doing Bach, yeah, almost probably 15 years ago now, and that was in the Netherlands actually, because they are obsessed with Bach there, and there
Yeah.
is so much happening. And I remember, yeah, trying out the Evangelist about probably about 13 years ago or so, and that was, yeah, that was a good moment.
Okay. I have to ask, in that time, what did Bach mean to you? And right now, what does he mean today after so many successful concerts?
It feels to me like I sort of understand. I'd like to think I kind of understand his mindset a bit, and yeah, I just spent so much time with his music that yeah, I treasure it a lot, and I think also I bring my learning from Bach into other composers too when I'm singing with that sort of stuff, and his emotional depth is just kind of second to none. I think the depth that he reaches in those passions in the B minor mass, and it's just sort of unparalleled, really. And obviously the music itself is just so complex and technically perfect, and there's so much going on all the time. He's just a complete genius, I think.
Yes, yes, and it's like a school to learn to how to sing, for example, Lida, or maybe that German roles, and not only German roles, Italian roles also. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
you have worked and record this music with the most important Bach experts, people like Sir John Eliot Gardiner, Maestro Philippe Herreweghe, Hans Christoph Rademann, and many more. Tell us about that meetings and all the musical process next to that famous conductors, the rehearsals, the
Mm.
that many hours singing with that amazing conductors.
Yeah, it is quite something. And when you're in the room with these guys, you do, yeah, they're just sometimes they come out with something that people have not thought about. You know, some interpretation, and then it's like, oh yeah, of course. And it will maybe if there's a tiny bit of confusion about something in an aria, they say one thing and it's just sorted, and it's quite amazing. I think initially it's quite scary when you first start and you're in the room with with Philippe
I can
or
imagine.
yeah, yeah, also with Maestro Suzuki with Masaki. He's also absolutely brilliant. And they all, the good thing about them is that they all bring their own different approaches too. So I find that you you take you're taking ideas from each one kind of, and then you end up with trying to then keep something of your own in there in your performance, but you're taking these influences from these kind of real masters, these legends.
Yeah,
And
without
yeah,
doubts.
it's really it's very special to be there, and everybody, I think all the musicians in the room are always, we're aware that we're surrounded by some amazing
Yes,
music making going
I
on.
remember a Maestro Dietrich Henschel, that it's another amazing guest in this edition of the season Bach.
Mhm.
He said the past edition about Maestro Gardiner. He's a crazy man. He working with him. It's like a crazy dream, and I can imagine that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when a singer has the opportunity to make music with these experts, without doubt, he becomes one too. It will depend on experience, years of study, and closeness, but in your case, you're one of the most sought after Bach tenors today. For you, how should Bach be sung?
Hmm. It's a
About
good
rules,
question.
about yeah, a philosophy.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I mean, I think it's just got to be all about the connection to the text, really. That's the real key here. Um,
Yes,
you've got to try and get inside his mindset and get that across to the audience. You're a vessel to get his ideas out. So
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, initially, of course, when you're learning the music, you've got to think about the technique of it, especially when it's so difficult. But eventually, when it comes down to it, you're just really thinking about the text and just making sure you know the intention of every single phrase that you're singing, and that intention will be changing constantly. And the emotions that you need to convey, there are so many within each recit or aria that you need to make sure that you're always keeping track on what you're trying to get across. And I think audiences appreciate that when you're really trying to. It also, you're then being very much in the moment, I think, and you're not. It doesn't feel too prepared, and I think you've also got to be comfortable to change things up as well. So one performance isn't going to be the same as the next. I'm very much keen on being a little bit risky and just trying, something new in a performance, and 90% of the time it will work out, and occasionally it doesn't, and that doesn't matter. Like you're being in the moment and excited to be doing a live performance. I think that usually conveys well to the audience. And also, if people see that you're enjoying yourself, that also comes across
yeah.
well. And I try not to be too serious, in the I mean, it
Yeah,
depends. If you're in a
sadly,
practice,
many singers think that singing Bach it's like wear some force shirt. I don't know. It's
Mhm.
like with limits so
Yeah.
next to your singing. And about that, what do you think about vibrato in Baroque music, and
Mhm.
especially in Bach music? It's a question really important for singing and for young singers.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's a tricky one because for me, for example, I naturally have a bit of vibrato. Like that's just usually it's the sign of a free voice.
yeah,
But I also I try not to kind of lock down my vibrato too much. But I think the key is that it shouldn't. You probably don't want it to be there all the time. And I think it can be used sometimes a bit more as a color, for example. So if there's an important word in the line, then
yeah.
on a particular note, and then you can color it with more vibrato. And that doesn't mean removing vibrato from everything else. It just means being more clear with how you're using vibrato. Yeah.
Yeah, and for example, it's just impossible to sing a coloratura full of vibrato.
No,
It's difficult, of course.
exactly. And I think
And
there are certain times, for example, where
yeah,
I think in Bach you get a lot of these long sustained
yeah,
notes. I'm thinking of, for example, of Herreweghe, the tenor aria, and
yeah,
I think you don't want that first long G to be. You want it to be.
yeah.
You want a
You
nice
don't know,
clean.
you don't know if the note it's a C or even a D.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, I think it has to be. You have to be careful with how it's used, but at the same time, it's important not to compromise on your technique. So you have to. Yeah,
of course.
it's quite difficult to balance it sometimes.
Okay. And about that, what do you recommend to singers or especially tenors to achieve assertiveness in the interpretation of Bach? Because yes, it's about the text, it's about the technique in service of the text, or even you have to show your amazing high notes or even the low notes. What do you think about?
I think, yeah, when looking at Bach, you've got to, especially for young singers, it's very hard for tenors to find. It's hard to find arias that are actually a good place to start. But there are a few. For example, I don't know if you know the Qui Tollis from the G minor Mass. It goes da ya da da dum doo 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 doo. That one.
Yeah,
Da da dum ya da da dum. That is actually not a huge range, and it's quite lyrical. It's actually quite a good starting point. So I've said that before to people that if you want to kind of get used to the style, maybe that's quite a good place to start because it doesn't require ridiculous high notes and it's quite a good, yeah, that's a good starting point. Also, another one is Sanfte Zoll from the Easter Oratorio. Sanfte Zoll mein Todeskummer. That's really beautiful and again, quite
yeah,
lyrical. So I think for tenors, especially if they're coming from a more lyrical Mozart background perhaps or something. Some of those arias, those two especially, are great for kind of finding your way into Bach, and then
yeah.
eventually, eventually you've got to have a go at Ach mein Sinn and
and
Herreweghe,
it's so
Geduld.
different. For
Yeah.
example, it's not similar to Handel music, for example,
No,
that it's
absolutely.
more, yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. And
Okay,
I think it's really a really important thing is for tenors is to work out. Yeah, you've got to find a way of using more head voice when you're high. Not, I don't mean absolutely not all the time. I think there are moments where you really need the schreien. You've got a proper top
for
A.
example, the
Deep voice.
aria of Magnificat, of the
Yes.
Magnificat, it's so lyric, it's so
Yeah, exactly. I
powerful.
was
Yeah,
just think that's one of my favorites actually. Deposit
yeah.
is really so fun, and
I
you can
think
really see
all
all
the
the
tenors love that aria.
yeah,
I
exactly.
remember the first moment I listened to this amazing Magnificat. It was sung by the maestro Ian Bostridge, the
Mm,
tenor,
yeah.
and I remember I was listening to this amazing dude with the mezzo and tenor, and I I was like thinking that he was a contralto and not a
Mm,
tenor, and it was amazing because all that two voices with a dialogue and amazing, amazing. And after that, he gave us all his
yeah,
amazing voice singing the aria, and it was so different of the duet,
yeah,
but
yeah.
amazing, of course. Yeah,
Of
yeah,
course,
yeah.
exactly. And that's what I mean about you've got to have all the different options ready.
Yes,
Um, yeah, you've got to have the
it's
gentle
amazing.
high and the full voice high as well. And yeah.
Yes. And about the Bach repertoire, which arias or recitatives you do consider essential for any tenor who wants to improve as a performer, for example, to become a great evangelist?
Mm. Well, with the evangelist, one of the main difficulties with it is that it just is you need such stamina because there's a lot of I've never actually counted how many recits there are, but
Okay.
there's a lot in there. So it's yeah, I think it's actually when you're approaching recits, it's actually worthwhile really trying to go through those passions and see how to pace yourself. That's really really important. And in terms of arias, I've already mentioned yeah, Sanfte Zoll and as you're getting towards the harder end of things, you've got I think Geduld is really crazy, absolutely wild aria, so difficult and involves. I remember having so many lessons on that. Same
Yeah.
with Vega as well, and yeah, those are. I think if you can master those, then there's actually not much else that you'll stumble upon. To be honest, um, yeah.
Okay. Okay. We can enjoy your amazing work singing so difficult arias. In January, you sung some cantatas, the 28, the 32, the 13, the 16 with Maestro Rademan, and you're going to sing St. John Passion with Oslo Voices and Ingrid Hanke. In this month, you're going to be part of concerts with these musicians and the admired conductor Philippe Herreweghe. What do you think about the way Bach wrote for the tenor voice? And I know it's a question so similar to the others, but especially,
Mhm. Well, the way yeah, it's an interesting one with the tenor because often the ranges required are quite different to the other parts, and it makes me wonder. I mean, there's no way that we could possibly know how they sang, I guess. But sometimes the way it's written, I wonder whether there was more falsetto, like actual falsetto, used almost like a baritone voice with a flip that would be more falsetto. Like
yeah,
I'm thinking of, for example, the beginning of the second half of the John Passion. There's da führeten sie Jesu vom Käfer vor das Richters und es war früher. And that just the way that's written just suggests to me like it's a proper like a countertenor flip there.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I wonder whether they just sang it in a completely different way, actually. Sadly, we can't ask anybody
yeah, and
because if I were to
the
have
way of
dinner
yeah,
with
and the
Bach, I would ask him about that.
yeah, the way of singing Bach, it's so that at that time it's not near of uh, for example the all the work that did Dupré, the tenor, the French tenor, and of
Mm,
course, like you said, the high notes, maybe it was singing with a falsetto, or I don't know.
Possibly.
Yeah,
It's very true.
it's
And I
possible.
mean, what's also clear is that he obviously regarded the tenor as an important voice part. I mean, the evangelist is always tenor.
Yeah,
The arias he gives are absolutely wild. Like I think it was an important voice for him.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would love to ask these questions.
Yeah. For example, for a baritone voices, it's so amazing, and yeah, amazing to see the difference between the two areas in the Mass and B minor, the Et in Spiritum Sanctum and the Quoniam to Solus Sanctum. It's so different. The Et in
Definitely, and
Spiritum
it must be
Sanctum
two
is
people.
for baritone voice, and the other area or similar with bass voice, and
Yeah, yeah.
that's
It
a
really
goal.
suggests that
Yeah.
it's two different. It must be two different people there. I think it must be. Yeah.
What can you tell us about your schedule over the last 3 months? Just 10 concerts singing some Saint John Passion. How do you approach studying and preparing a repertoire as extensive as Bach cantatas and Saint John Passion? And what have these performances been like?
Hmm. Yes, it's been a pretty full-on last 3 months or so. I had in December I was with the Netherlands Bach Society. We had the B minor, I think, 10 times in 11 days,
Wow.
which is
Yeah.
quite hard work. But they're a wonderful group. They always look after you so well. So yeah, that was a pleasure. And then, as you said, yeah, I had some more Herreweghe, and I also just recorded the Lutheran masses with Stefan MacLeod and the L'Angeli Genève, and also some cantatas with Hans Christoph Rademann. So it's been a lot of Bach recently. Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
the
Amazing.
challenge, yeah, the challenge is definitely trying to keep well, and I also have an 18 month old son at the moment, so that's quite, yeah. When I'm at home, I'm
Yes.
also in dad mode, and that's obviously not quite as restful as
Yeah.
um
And,
as it
and,
could be.
and,
So
and be prepared to sing Bach music, and at the same time Lida, or the
yeah,
songs written by Vaughan Williams, and how to be in that different kind of music. Yes.
I try not to adjust the way I sing too much. I think maybe in terms of the technique, it's sort of similar, but yeah, with I mean, for example, French Baroque is a really totally different. That feels
Yeah.
very, all the trills are very different, and the phrasing, and that's always quite fun to dip into. And I like with, yeah, I'm preparing a English song program, another one for this summer. I'm going to Philippe Herreweghe's summer festival in Tuscany, and I'm just preparing a new program there. So I've been looking at a lot of Finzi, Gerald Finzi, and Benjamin Britten, and
Yeah.
Vaughan Williams, and that's fun. I mean, I really like the variety of just, yeah, keep mixing it up, having different composers, different
Of course.
different periods, in fact, and then it means that everything is always kept fresh. You don't get bored of whatever, and then it's great to then come back to Bach, and
Yeah. And there's a question about that. Uh, are there differences in the style and rules of interpretation of Bach music compared to the music of other Baroque composers? For example, when Bach writes about a question, a statement, a long phrase.
Hmm. I think so. As I was saying,
Yeah,
long notes to me suggest that perhaps going to be slightly
yeah,
straighter. I don't know if that's actually a rule. It just seems to be what happens. And vibrato, we've spoken about that already. I think also ornamentation is an interesting one with Bach because, yeah, again, I mean, often there's just so much written into the music already that you don't, for me at least, I feel like I don't need to add too much if it's in a da capo.
sure.
And there's certainly not the same expectation to do. I just did Handel's Alceste, which is a slightly unknown piece actually, but it was quite fun to then, in the B sections, in the return of the A section, you've then got the opportunity to do some wild
Yeah,
cadenzas and things. But in Bach, I don't feel like that's really appropriate. In fact, I think a lot of people think it should literally be exactly the same the second time around. So I don't know. Yeah, I
yes.
sometimes. might do a couple of little embellishments, but not too much really, actually, with Bach. Yeah.
Okay. How has Bach influenced your career, especially your voice and art?
Hmm. I mean, I suppose, yeah, looking at my diary, there's rather a lot of it in there. So it's
Yeah,
definitely, it's been a very big part of my life ever since I was a chorister. And I love the style. I feel very at home when I'm singing Bach. And I think the technical challenges of it have really helped me to kind of build a pretty sturdy technique. And yeah, I'm pretty grateful for that as well. So yeah, I think Bach will probably always feel like home.
yeah, yeah, of course, I suppose. What aria written by Bach do you still have and want to sing? Or what's your favorite aria?
Yeah, there is
It's,
one.
I know it's difficult, but
It's very hard. Yeah, there's
yeah,
I mean, I'm sure there are still lots I've not found yet, but a really
okay.
fun one that I recorded with the Netherlands Bach Society a couple of years ago is in Cantata 26, and it's So schnell ein rauschend Wasser schießt,
Yeah,
and it's absolutely wild. It's with solo violin, and it's just a sequence of crazy runs, and really involves a lot of technique, and a classic thing where
yes.
there's nowhere to breathe, so you've got to learn all sorts of special mechanisms basically, and that's a really exciting one. I've already mentioned the Posuit from the Magnificat. That's really fun. Feels almost like, yeah,
Yes.
it doesn't feel like Bach in a way, actually. It feels different. And Sanft Sol.
I would like to sing it, but I'm a baritone and
Yeah.
it's impossible. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
As an opera singer, what do you think about the music career in this time, and what advice can you give to young singers and tenors?
It's a good question. Um, I think starting out is tricky, and you've really got to, be aware that not everything is going to line up straight away. You're going to get rejection sometimes, and also I think it's important for young singers to know that about the schedules and what's actually going to be expected of you. There's a lot of You're traveling a lot, spending a lot of time away from home. There's always a lot of music to learn. Um, yeah, it's important to and I think as a result of that, you're often having to perform when you can be quite tired. So making sure your technique is really solid, I think, is the most important starting point.
Yeah,
Um, but also, I mean, it is a brilliant career. It's a really fun. I love traveling. I love going around the world singing. It's really fun. There's lovely people that you meet everywhere. All the musicians you meet are also fantastic, and yeah, it's a brilliant job. But it can be. I think often people think it sounds very glamorous, but I think the
yeah,
reality is that you often see a hotel room and a concert hall, and you
yeah.
might be able
Full,
to
full
eat
of
a little bit of
loneliness.
food.
Yeah,
Yeah, it can be hard, especially with I've got my little son now, and I do miss him when I go away, but
yes,
it makes it nice when I come home, of course. So
of course. The great tenor Giacomo Lauri Volpi said, "Singing is the reflection of a spiritual vibration." For you, what should a singer's philosophy of life be?
oh gosh, it's a good question. I think as I said earlier, just being in the moment in performances, trying to enjoy it once you've done all the preparation, you're in the performance, just go for it. I think if performers look like they're enjoying themselves, and they are, it just is really infectious, and the audience loves that. And I think just being in the moment, just trying to enjoy it, not to get too worked up about finer details in the end.
Okay. And talking about opera, how do you envision the present and future of opera?
Hmm.
For some people, the opera is dead or is in a process, in a crisis or a chaos. I don't know.
Yeah. Yes, I can see that that is definitely one point of view. I think it feels like opera companies are moving more towards trying to make things more relatable to the audience. I think that's a big part of it
Yes.
now. And new operas that are coming out are sort of moving in that direction, kind of more sort of modern, relatable plot lines, and opera acting is also becoming slightly more
Yes.
Should we say a bit more subtle?
And
there's,
singing with an orchestra it's so difficult right now.
yes, yeah.
A lot of time we have to sing opera with just a pianist or even a camera group, but it's difficult. Yes.
Yeah, that's things are definitely changing, aren't they? Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Okay. I love to make this question: a word or an expression that comes to your mind after the following mentions. First, signed John Passion.
Gosh.
Just
One
a word
is tricky.
or an expression.
Yeah. Sort of remarkable journey.
Okay. Mass in B minor.
The best.
Yeah.
That's his best. In my opinion, that's his best work.
I agree. Tenor voice.
Most complex? I'm biased.
Okay. Leader.
Legato.
Baroque music.
Subtlety.
Philippe Herreweghe.
Legend.
Collegium Vocale Gent.
Family.
England.
Home.
Opera.
Exciting.
Choral music.
Again, home.
Yeah, I agree. Sir John Eliot Gardiner.
Oof. The master.
Monteverdi Choir.
Stylish.
Mozart.
Beautiful.
Schubert.
Oh, he's brilliant. One word for Schubert. Oh, gosh. Actually, my first thought is Di Forella.
Okay. Vaughan Williams.
Oh, delicious. Songs of Travel.
Yeah. Johann Sebastian Bach.
No words?
Okay, to end this amazing interview, I have to say I'm so blessed. I thank you. And I have to ask you, what are your current goals? What do you dream with right now?
So yeah, at the moment I am really enjoying the work that I've got. I feel like there's a lovely selection of really top level stuff going on, especially in the Baroque world. But I'm excited. Yeah, as I get older, my voice will, it's changing all the time, and I'm starting to enjoy exploring later repertoire as well. I love song repertoire. I'm excited to do my first disc is coming out actually with voice and piano. That's coming out next January. So watch this space. And that's all English song, Vaughan Williams and Britain, and yeah, I'm really enjoying exploring that sort of area too. So yeah, I mean, eventually, I mean, I love the idea of perhaps, Peter Grimes or Billy Bard or one of these, fantastic Britain operas at some point. But yeah, and I think Bach and Baroque will always probably remain the core, and I feel like I know the style so well, and I love singing it. So I think that will remain, but then we'll see what other things will come alongside.
I'm sure it will be an amazing journey for you. Yes, Maestro, thank you so much. I send you my best wishes with all my love, my admiration, my respect as a musician, as a singer, and it's an amazing blessing for us to have you as an amazing guest in this 4th edition. Thank you, and God bless you.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks.
Thanks.
Ach, viel verleugnen Wort